Okay, this is part two of the regionals discussion video. I'm going to be going over, I just went over my matches from the day in the last video. Now I'm going to be doing why I changed certain things. Now, I explained in the last video why I changed from the 1 to 2 Leviers as opposed to playing Leviathan. Was in like a brief description, it was because I found in one situation in the day, but it was hinting at me throughout the day that having a second Levier would have been very good. It could have helped me win games a lot easier as opposed to risking them. So that was it on that. And then I took out a Bistweller for Giga Brilliant because I never make a Bistweller and I'd rather go Dolka. So that's it on that. Now, this is obviously the Chaos build of Dino Rabbit where you play the lights and the darks and blah 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 blah. As opposed to the Glybas and Macros. Now, the pros to this version are that I have access to Hand Traps, BLS, which is the most broken card in the game, Gores, which is also a broken card, two Thunder Kings, and Pot of Avarice. Those are the main reasons why I chose to play this again over continuing with the Glyba build, was because Thunder King is very strong against Atlanteans and Dino Rabbit is gaining a lot of popularity, and so are windups. So Thunder King is getting more and more better than Glyba in a lot of situations, and so is Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is still good against Mermails. I mean, you can Veiler the Abyss Megalo so they don't get the spear or whatever, which can be very, very, very helpful. And then you can Veiler rabbits and tour guides and wind up rats and all of that other stuff. And then obviously BLS is a game winner and Gores is just also a game winner. And then Pot of Avarice is just, words cannot describe how good this card is. It just totally wins you games when the opponent thinks they're safe because you use your rabbits or you use your big monsters, then you Pot of Avarice everything back, and then they're like, oh crap. And then I also played a third Lance, which I did not play at regionals, which I totally regret not doing. I mean, I was thinking about it, but I was like, nah. But it would have helped a lot. There was a lot of bottomlesses, a lot of deep prisons that Lance could have helped a lot with. And then the Triple D prison, which I didn't play at regionals, obviously. I played 2 warning, solemn, torrentials, 2 bottomless, 2 fiendish Shane, and 2 macros and Starlight Road. Now, ignore the 3rd prison because I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep this trap lineup, but Macrocosmos and Glyba I honestly found were very bad because I played a lot of Dino Rabbit mirrors. It wasn't very good at against the decks that it should have been good against, and plus Thunder King and Effect Veiler, BLS, and Gores I think are just all around more consistent, better cards that help you win. Like, Glyba's only a 1700 card. I mean, if you don't have a Lance with him, I mean, he's awful. Like, I mean, that's all you have to say about that. And then Macro, honestly, I'd rather take the chance game 1 playing against Atlanteans of not playing Macro than I would playing Macro, because Macro, if you draw it late, is a dead draw because they already went off on you and you're probably close to death. And with playing Macro when you're playing Glyba, you can't play Thunder King, which Thunder King wrecks Atlanteans because they either have to minus themselves with a Megalo to try to get rid of the Thunder King if, like, say they don't discard like a heavy infantry, or because they can't search Spear or search with Dragoons, or they have to waste a Diva on it, which is obviously wasting a Diva for just to get a Thunder King off the field is very hurting to them. Also, like, Glyba, it may be good against them, but honestly, most Atlantean players can play around Alagia or Dolka if they're good players. So, honestly, if you play like cards like Gores and BLS, well, Gores will save you from their OTKs, and then BLS just, they can't really deal with the BLS at all because he just beats over everything, can remove the lens or whatever, get rid of the Cataster. The only real thing that can like harm the BLS would be if they just summon Diva and then went into a Cataster, or if they're like minusing themselves to get a heavy infantry effect off, you know? Like, I mean, they could summon Pike and do it that way and possibly get a plus, but if you have cards like Warning, or if you have a Rabbit with a Dolka on the field, I mean, like, or a Thunder King with a BLS and they have to waste the infantry on the BLS just to survive, I mean, I think that's much better than playing Guiba or Macro. And honestly, I found myself siding out the Guibas. Maybe not the Macros, but always the Guibas. I didn't really like them throughout the day. I mean, I thought they were good, but they were just not. And then when I played this version at locals, I was enjoying it a lot more. It was a lot more consistent. And I don't know, just the feel of the deck just was very good. Like when I played a Dino Rabbit Mirror at locals on Sunday, the effect veilers alone were just so good, so crucial. Like in the third lance, like 3 times in the mirror on Saturday, I veilered his rabbit, and like it was either late or early game or whatever. I veilered the rabbit, summoned a normal monster, and lanced it if he tried to get rid of it, killing his rabbit, putting him in an awkward situation. It was just amazing. Now onto the 3D prisons. This I was debating after I made this change for the locals on Saturday, because like I was kind of throwing it together. I found myself loving D Prison, even if it's a locals. Like we have a lot of the top tier decks at our locals, so it was. I mean, it's okay, but Dimensional Prison, I just loved comboing it with like a Lagia, or setting a Reaper, setting a prison, or summoning a Thunder King, setting a prison. I just found prison to be so good, very helpful. Like in my final match on Saturday, in the finals, I actually played Plants against my friend, and I had a BLS. I summoned my BLS, which was the only time I had summoned BLS the whole locals, because I just hadn't drawn it in the other matches. I mean, it was live, but I just didn't draw it. I mean, it would have been helpful if I had drawn it, but I just happened to draw it in the last match, and I summoned it, was attacking, and then backed it up with 2D prisons. So there was essentially nothing he could do. Not even a Trag or anything could beat it over. Gaga Cowboy, any out essentially, except for like Spinal Trap removal, obviously. Which, if I had drawn a Lance, I could just Lance it. So that was that. Overall, I like this version much better. It's much more consistent. Playing less dead cards. I mean, I'm siding the macros because obviously, if you're playing something like Mermails or whatever, you want to side it in because it's very helpful. And obviously, you just take out like these, this, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you have your simple side out right there, and your deck has just gone from like game one. Game one, I think this version is much more solid because it has a lot more live cards against more matchups than the macro build, which macro or Guiba could be dead. So, like, you have a stronger game 1 matchup against most matchups, and then your game 2 matchup, if you really need to switch, you can switch, and then you're guaranteed to win that much more. I think this deck is overall much better, but that's my opinion. That's the end of the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and leave comments. Leave your arguments. I'd love to hear them, just to, like, you know, see what your opinions are. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys later.